This episode's road trip vehicle, 1995 Ford Escort LX Wagon, 1.9-liter fuel-injected four-cylinder. Today on Road Trips, we head east as we check out the historic town of Pendleton, Oregon. And joining us for this episode is our guest co-host, Holly Hilton. So now, let's hit the road. Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of Road Trips. I'm Todd Hilton, along with my special guest co-host for this episode, my wife Holly. Today we'll be taking you to Pendleton, Oregon, home of the world-famous Pendleton Roundup. But that's not what we're going to be showing you, because actually there's a lot more to see in Pendleton than most people think, and that's what we're going to try to do. We're standing out in the middle of nowhere on the way up to a place called Blaylock Canyon, just east of the Columbia River Gorge. As I said, we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're about 2 miles out of I-84, which we'll be heading back to get back on the main drag to head to our destination. So, we're gonna get the camera in the car and hit the road. Okay, folks, we're underway. Just got turned around. We'll be exiting Blaylock Canyon. We never did actually see what exactly Blaylock Canyon is. Didn't say how far back it is, unless this whole area is called that. Nice stunt driving, dear.
Thank you.
We do have one slight difficulty. This is my fault. I've forgotten the adapter I needed to plug in our microphone, so you're going to have to bear with us. Hopefully I'll be able to talk loud enough for everyone will be able to hear me, so... I feel naked without the microphone. I have something to,
Okay, I'm staying in the lines.
That's good. Very little traffic. What do we see? One car go by?
About half an hour time?
Yeah, the whole time we've been sitting there. We have a new addition to our road trip setup. In a new way to set up the camera, and it's been a lot easier so far. The trips you see are not necessarily going to be in the order that they were that the trips were taken in. When this episode is being shot, this is actually only the second show for the second season that has been taped, and this is the first time this new camera setup has been done. What I've done is I've extended the tripod legs out on the seat so that they have a wide spread, which makes the camera a lot more stable, and it eliminates the need to use duct tape. Our good friend Mr. Duct Tape, which has been a relief that we don't have to use that anymore, because it really is quite a pain having to do that every time, and of course it doesn't stick to the floor all that well. You know, cars having carpeted floor, and that and getting it off the tripod is not that easy either. But once again, in addition to that, which is a new feature, we have once again our monitors set up here on the floor. Actually, I can pick it up and show you. There's our monitor, our little handy-dandy little monitor. I picked this up a while back for, what I paid, $50, $60 for this thing. It's been very nice having this monitor so we can actually see what it is we're looking at, or what it is the camera's looking at. as I said earlier, I don't have my microphone, so it may be effective to sit sideways during the entire trip.
Hot here.
Yeah, just a little. I think that might help too, if you don't mind. Are you warm enough?
Yeah.
Okay. My wife and I have a problem with temperature control. She likes it hot, I like it cold, and never the two shall meet, or something like that. As I said, our destination today is Pendleton, and if I get out our handy-dandy little AAA book, which I've dubbed the Road Trips Bible. This thing has been an incredible help in figuring out new places to go, places we haven't seen. The really cool thing about it is that it shows hours of operation for different tourist sites, any fees that there are, and phone numbers to get a hold of the people who run the places.
That and estimated times of viewing, where they say, like going, say, to Fort Stevens, they say give yourself about 2 hours to tour it.
Yeah, so we haven't gone through the entire book, but we're about halfway through the Oregon destinations, just kind of going through. Holly was taking the time to highlight some of the more interesting places as described in the book. So if any of you folks out there are AAA members, you got to get the book. It's a must. I myself am not a AAA member, but I was fortunate enough to know someone who was. In fact, this book was given to me by Louise, former CCTV office manager. She had watched several of the Road Trips episodes and was kind enough to give me this book. In fact, it wasn't until we started planning for the Reno trip, the second Reno trip, that we actually really started looking at the book and realizing, wow, this thing has got tons of information in it. In fact, that's how we were able to see some of the different things that are in Pendleton. I had no idea. In fact, look it up here. It's just before the Portland section. So there's a lot of stuff in the Portland area, but we may never show any of the Portland area stuff on road trips, being that it's so close to home. We've tried to show places mostly outside Columbia County, 50 miles or more away from home. Home being St. Helens area, St. Helens Rainier area. Just a couple of things that we're hoping to get on tape. The McKay Creek National Wildlife Refuge. From the description, it kind of sounds like a wildlife safari kind of thing. At least that's the way I understand it. Open daily 5 a.m. to 1.5 hours after sunset. So pretty wide margin, so most likely if you went there, they'd be open. This is one strange thing I noticed there. It says hunting is permitted. So I don't know what kind of a place this is, but it sounded interesting. There's the Pendleton Roundup Hall of Fame, which is one of the things that we might get to.
Talking about the underground tour.
it or not, Seattle is not the only local place with an underground tour. Pendleton also has one. I read the description of it. It sounds very interesting. It's a 1.5-hour guided tour of the historical underground tunnels built by Chinese immigrants in the late 1800s. The first part goes through the old Shamrock card room, the laundry, and the meat market. The second part includes the Chinese jails, living quarters, and the bordellos or cozy rooms. Unfortunately, this isn't one of the ones we're going to be able to show you. In fact, we'll probably save this one for you folks out there. If you ever get a chance to go to Eastern Oregon.
Where's it located at? What days, times?
I'm getting there, dear.
Okay.
Keep in mind when you say stuff, you might have to be kind of a loudmouth in order for people to hear.
Okay.
Like I said, I feel naked without the microphone, and I'm kicking myself for forgetting that one little piece that prevents me from using the microphone.
You were the one that was such a rush to get out of there.
I know. I'm just worried about getting there too late, not being able to see something. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to hit the wildlife refuge since it's open so late. And being that it is now late June, summer has officially started, believe it or not.
Looks like it over here.
Yeah, you'd never know it when we left home, and for most of the trip right until we hit the gorge was pouring down rain. Like I said, you'd never be able to tell. Now it's dry as a bone out here, and could sure use some of this back home. Actually, the weather, other than the last week or so before that, we had like 2 solid weeks of great weather back home, and I very much miss it. The underground tour is $10 a person, which is pretty steep. So if you're planning on seeing that, just be prepared and have some spending money. Like I said, they are rather spendy, but from the description, it sounds like it'd be well worth the expense to go see it. Like I said, I had no idea that there was such a thing in Oregon. I mean, other than the caves, and there's tons of caves in Oregon and Washington, but this sounding a lot like the Seattle underground tour, which also we didn't get to look at. That one we missed because it was by the time we got to it, it was too late in the day, and apparently they had sold out.
I've done the tour.
You've done the tour?
I've done the tour.
Is it cool?
It's cool. I think my favorite part of that was the ability to look up through these pieces of glass. You don't realize it walking on the sidewalk. There's these little areas of blocks, maybe so big on the sidewalk, and there's little square blocks of colored glass.
Yeah.
We didn't realize what it was until we got down into the tour, and you can look up above through these pieces of glass and see people walking.
Huh.
It's not real clear because a lot of the glass has been throughout the years. People have broken it, or it's worn down with age.
Yeah.
So it's not completely clear, but you can see shadows and stuff above you walking.
Huh. Yeah, I very much wanted to see the underground tour in Seattle. Mark and I both. The Pendleton Woolen Mills. We're open Monday through Friday. They offer tours at 9, 11, 1:30, and 3. I don't think we're going to make that one.
No.
There's a Living Heritage tour. that goes through the city. According to this, they offer either a guided van tour. I guess you get on the van and they drive you around and show you. It says there's also a city tour. I'm not sure what that is. We're kind of hoping that's a drive yourself kind of tour, which will be a lot easier. Which another thing, the Living Heritage Tour is another pretty spendy deal. So his fare is $17 and up. So, and I'm assuming that is for the guided van tour. We might be able to get a map of some kind when we get into town. Another nice feature about the Road Trips Bible, also known as the AAA tour book, is it also tells you approximate times on how long it's going to take to go through these tourist sites.
I already said that.
Rory. I just want to make sure that they hear it, and also that people hear you, because I'm not sure. I know from experience in the past, if you're facing away from the camera in any direction, it's gonna sound
I can
muffled.
turn sideways if you want me to, but I think you want me to drive more. Keep my eyes on the road.
Well, you could just turn your head. Can you do that?
Maybe.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I don't know how good the sound is going to be without having the handheld microphone. I've got the microphone, but can't use it unless maybe we find a Radio Shack or something. Maybe then I could do something about it. But, until then, we'll have to make do. Since this is not a very close to home trip for us. Pendleton is about around 300 miles from home. About that.
Check the map. There's a crab inside. You can step into the door.
One thing we've done is we have plenty of maps this time. This is a pretty good map. It's a few years outdated, but what's good about it is it has individual maps of most of the major cities in Oregon, including Pendleton, which is very helpful. This is, I think it said this is a 93-94 Oregon map. Yeah, put out by Oregon Department of Transportation. Okay, on our mileage table, let's go from. Actually, they do have radio.
Yes, they do.
Cool. Well, just for viewers' sake, let's go from St. Helens. St. Helens to Pendleton.
Pendleton's pink.
Thank you. Okay. Not as far as I thought. 233 miles. Hey, is that about? Oh, that is about what I guessed the other day. I said 231. Well, that's pretty close.
Yeah, it is.
We just passed a sign a ways back that said we're 58 miles from Pendleton.
Yes, that's correct.
Currently heading east on I-84. Right now I have no idea where we're at. There's no towns that I can see. We're just it's just basically open road out where we're at. Find a point of reference here. According to the map, we're in the middle of nowhere.
Looks like it.
Yeah. You can definitely see a big change in the both the climate and the landscape. That's the word I'm looking for. Well, it starts changing about the gorge, and everything starts getting very dry. Out here, it looks like it hasn't rained in months. I don't know. There's no way to tell. This part of the state tends to be very dry. Not much is obvious. Very little growth. There's no trees out here at all. It's all pretty much sagebrush and a wide variety of power lines
And
fences. Right now, it looks like a good time to take a break. As soon as we see something a little more exciting, like maybe a town or something, we'll come back. So we'll see you in just a minute. Okay, folks, we're back. We're about 40-some miles out of Pendleton. In fact, let's go to our graphic map here, show you exactly where we are. Right about here to our best guess. Still heading east on I-84. Just passed a Walla Walla onion truck. Yeah, whoo! Definitely onions. We are past that small town, so small I forgot the name of it. Boardman. We're past Boardman. Let's see, what we got coming up here? Umatilla Army Depot. Or Depot, as some people call it. Sorry. Our trip that we're taking is going to be divided up into probably 2 days here. So if we change clothes suddenly, you'll know why. Okay, coming up on Hermiston and Umatilla exit, or are we coming up on the town? I don't know.
I'm just driving.
You're just the driver. Just shut up and drive! Okay.
Oops.
Cute, dear.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we should be on our way to Hermiston. Okay. Pendleton, 32 miles. So we're not that far away. 32 miles goes pretty fast on the freeway.
Especially when you're going 70.
Yeah. Unless you're behind a couple of big trucks. Hey, Safeway. Yeah. Are these the same trucks we passed earlier, dear?
I believe so.
Whoa. That's weird, because we probably passed them 100 miles ago.
But we also made a couple stops.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, 29 miles out of Pendleton and, say, 9 miles to Hermiston?
Uh-huh.
You're not sure, are you?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Joe.
Maybe it was 1 mile to Hermiston.
We have no idea. The land is starting to change again here. It's starting to get more green. It's looking more like
We're Oregon.
Yeah, like we're actually somewhere instead of nowhere. I think a lot of this out here is farmland. This is all farmland as far as the eye can see.
Ooh, cows.
Cows?
You like cows.
Oops.
You lost it here. Wait a minute, you've never had it.
The moment I said I did. Oh. Oops.
Now there's a rest area in 2 miles, and the next rest area after that is 45 miles. Should we stop?
I don't have to go.
Well, neither do I, but 45 miles is quite a ways.
That's a ways. Well, it's past Pendleton.
Mhm.
I mean, I imagine there's some place to use a restroom in Pendleton. Unless they don't have such things out there.
Are you sure?
Restroom? What's that?
An outhouse out back.
On an outhouse out there. We got a bowl. Sorry. No disrespect to the people of Pendleton. For all we know, they can see this episode. Channel 9 has been updated since the last episode of Road Trips. We can now be accessed on the web through the Channel 9 website. By the time this episode goes on the air, it will also be webcast, which is quite amazing for such a small station. The quality isn't quite as good as you would see on your TV. But still, it's amazing that the technology has come so far that we can actually archive, that's what they call it, archive programs, and anyone who's online can access the programs and watch them on their computer. When I edit this, right about now, I'll put up the web address for that, where you should be able to see your favorite episodes of Road Trips.
Or not.
Or not. If that does happen, we'd like to welcome you to Road Trips, our quaint little show that my co-producer and myself began in '97. We were on an extended hiatus for all of 1998. We're back now in 1999 for our second season, hoping to get a lot more episodes, places that are farther away, and all those neat little tourist traps that we have here in the Pacific Northwest.
And believe me, they will. I'll make sure.
We hope to show you folks out there some places you've never seen, maybe some places you'd like to visit. And if you can't get there, that's why we're here. So where are we? Where the hell are we, dear?
We are 19 miles from Pendleton.
Cool. 19 miles from Pendleton. Let's go back to our map. Show you approximately where we're at. Still heading east on Interstate 84 in Oregon. Pretty much considered Eastern Oregon where we're at right now. And as it's been for the last, 50 miles, been pretty much nothing. Not a whole lot to see out in this direction. It's been one week. It's been quite a long time since I've been out this direction, this far. It's probably been 8 years. Long time.
I was this way just last year.
Yeah? Almost a year ago. Oh, there is one thing I didn't, one small attraction I didn't mention earlier. It's a clock. I know that's not a huge deal. Clock will be. But it sounded cool. I've always been fascinated with historical objects, buildings, old stuff, things that used to be. You know, this is a clock in downtown Pendleton. It's been restored, but it's an 1889 Seth Thomas clock tower. On Court Avenue and Southeast 4th Street. Court Avenue was on the other map, which is strange because the map we have, it's not very detailed. The map we have of Pendleton shows Court Avenue, but it doesn't show Main Street. Now you'd think, how many towns is there on Main Street? Oh, 9 out of 10 maybe? And they don't have Main Street on the map, so...
Does St. Helens have Main Street?
I don't think they do.
Scappoose.
Scappoose? Scappoose. Thank you. We're from Columbia County. We know how to pronounce it. We're not from Portland. We don't call it Rainier and Scappoose and Klatskanine. I hate that. People who are not from our area mispronouncing the towns we live in.
Mispronouncing the state.
Oregon? It's possible. Well, it's very possible if people see this on the web. I don't know how much of a chance there is of people accessing the website from other states, being that it's a small public access. I don't know. The fact of the matter is, people from all around the world have the opportunity to log on to the CCTV website and check out our show, plus Columbia County News, Go West, several different promos for the station and local things in our area. I don't know. I mean, unless you're doing a general search on a subject like public access stations or something, I don't know. You'd have to get the word out, I suppose, somehow. But I think it's pretty cool. As we speak, a couple of things. So we're now entering Pendleton. We just passed a
City Center? Yes. National
yeah.
Historic
Oh, yeah. Just passed an entering Pendleton sign, and it had a picture of a bucking horse on it. As I said, probably the thing Pendleton is most famous for is the Pendleton Roundup, their annual rodeo, which is a huge event for the state of Oregon. City Center 3. Left. Yes. Okay.
I already got the turn signal on there.
This is good. Okay. Woohoo!
Taking the corner easy.
That's good.
I hope this isn't City Center.
Doesn't look like. Hey, $1.39 for regular.
Oh.
It's cheaper than it is at home.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. 1999, the year of beer. Oh, this one's for Dan, my regular co-host and the co-producer of Road Trips. This is for him who cannot be here. Beer! As we speak, Dan is in California right now, on a little vacation, visiting family. World's Roundup City, entering Pendleton. That kind of looks like either maybe an airport or maybe a train station or something. Some kind of a tower over there, I don't know. Have you ever been to Pendleton? Okay, so this is a new experience for both of us. And for probably a lot of you out there. We're hoping we can find something. We don't get too lost. One of the signs we passed on the way in said historic district. Visitors information. That'd probably be a good place to start.
Yes.
Babe Ruth Baseball Park. I don't know how big Pendleton is. It kind of, I get the impression it's not a huge. Actually I think it is
spread out.
Yeah, it's real spread out. I don't know what the. Of course, if I'd been paying attention, there was probably a population sign somewhere, and I didn't see it.
Well, the book should say what the population is.
Yeah. Was that another feature of the AAA book I didn't know? Well, okay. Population 15,100. It's pretty good sized.
Yeah.
Pretty good sized. Well, now that's got to be the. Yeah, there is the home of the Pendleton Roundup. Okay, folks, we're in downtown Pendleton, and we found the 1889 Seth Thomas clock. It's been restored. Interesting clock tower. Like I said, you can see the guts.
All right, the history of the old courthouse clock. On August 6, 1889, Umatilla County purchased a Seth Thomas Model 17 clock. Cost was $884. The clock was installed in the new Victorian-style courthouse that fall. The clock faces are 6 feet in diameter. The east face is an original cast iron frame. The other 3 are newly fabricated steel replicas. The fourth-faced 8-day clock has a half-ton bell to strike the hours and is powered by 2 weights totaling 2,000 pounds. 28,000 pounds, sorry.
2,800.
2,800. 2,800 pounds. The clock was saved when the old courthouse was torn down in 1954. The Umatilla County Historical Society sponsored the clock restoration committee in restoring and rebuilding tower for clock's 100th birthday. Inside.
That's kind of interesting how they've opened it up, and it's not enclosed. And there's actually.
If you look at all the bricks.
Oh wow.
They're either dedicated to somebody.
Yeah.
In memory of somebody, or they have the names of the people that have provided for that brick, just like in St. Helens.
Right. Like for the pool and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And these are the people that helped in restoring the clock. Look up above, there's a ladder to access the bell. They somehow have to pull down.
Yeah.
And right straight above us is the bell. And here's the workings right here. And the looks like they've taken the weights off because the clock's not working at this time.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. But here is the workings themselves. And there is one weight on this side. Honey. There is one set of weights on this side. Looks like the other weights might have been taken in for repair or something.
Yeah. That's weird. I wonder how that works.
Well, here's the pendulum right here.
Yeah.
If you look inside, the pendulum right there swings back and forth.
Right. Huh. I'm just wondering how it makes the clock work when the clock is way up there.
Well, the weights help it. Pulleys on each side. Plus, these cables leading up.
Oh, okay.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
I wish it was working right now so we could actually see it in its full glory.
Huh.
It was manufactured in 1889 and restored in 1989.
Oh, wow.
They did that for
It's
100th year of its making.
yeah. Yeah, it's too bad it wasn't working. I'd love to see that thing in action. Okay, folks, we're back. We're now at the McKay Creek Wildlife Refuge. We got the camera back in the car for this. As we have found out shortly after driving in here, this is not what I expected. Because I'm not really up on these things.
I tried telling him. But I did, honey.
I know.
The monitor's not on.
That's okay.
Okay.
But this is not, in fact, a drive-through like wildlife safari thing. It's a wildlife refuge, which means it's a. I'll tell them, dear.
Wildlife refuge. Well, it's hard to explain. It's 1,836 acres, and it harbors large numbers of waterfowls, like ducks, geese, that sort of thing. Primarily ducks and geese, says so in the book. In an open water reservoir, which is right out here.
We'll pull over after a while and we'll get a shot of that so you can see what it looks like. Actually, that's probably the most picturesque part of the refuge here is the reservoir.
Let's see. Surrounded by riparian and upland habitats of bunch grasses, low sage, and cottonwood willow riparian zone. So basically it's where ducks and geese congregate, and at duck season and goose season.
Rabbit season.
No rabbit season. Doesn't say anything about rabbits in here.
You're supposed to say duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season.
Okay. But anyways, hunters are permitted to come in and hunt, which I think is kind of
now that you've refreshed my mind here,
or explained what a refuge is.
Yeah, that it should be a protected area. Yeah.
But I guess not all of them are.
Apparently not. But yeah, a very huge area back here. Hell, if anything, even if you don't hunt, it looks like it'd be a cool place to explore.
Mm-hmm. Also, a nice place to go fishing. Fishing and hunting are permitted, as long as you have the correct fishing and hunting licenses and regulations are met, and so on and so forth.
Some very nice views.
Yes.
Back here.
And they've made areas where you can park and observe the views or climb down lower.
Yeah.
No, those don't count. They're blackbirds. They say there's some.
Hey, look, there's some
blackbirds. Oops.
Oops. Now, if we get to a point where we turn around and may stop at a couple of the turnarounds, viewpoints, whatever you want to call them, and take a look so you can see what it looks like. Some areas are a little bit easier to drive on than others. I don't know if I'd want to take this type of vehicle on your back here. You probably want a truck.
Like the one that just tried to hit us.
Yes. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, this just seems to go on and on. We've seen a couple of houses off to our right, kind of up on the hill.
I don't believe that's part of the refuge.
No, because it's clearly fenced off. Well, I'll be off to our left. Can't see it yet, but there's a porta potty out here, dear.
Huh? Oh.
It sticks out like a sore thumb. Imagine that, folks, finding a toilet out in the middle of nowhere.
That'd be so nice than hiking into the bushes.
Yeah? There we go. Looks like a nice place to... Now, what's that up there? See that? A wooden structure or something?
But we can go look at it in a minute.
Okay. There we go. I can't tell if it's... It kind of looked like a boat landing, but I think it's actually just a... it's like a fishing hole, I guess.
Yeah, it's got special angling regulations. 3 bass per day. 15-inch minimum length.
Huh. So they gotta be big ones.
Yes. Well, any fisherman knows it's gotta be a big one.
Yeah, the gravel kind of turns into a white, almost concrete chunk-looking stuff.
Well, I haven't seen any ducks or geese or anything.
No?
We've got cotton flying around.
Yeah? Huh, that's cool. Yeah. I take it those are probably cottonwood trees. No, folks, it's not snowing. That's cotton you're seeing flying across the screen there. Very beautiful down here. And peaceful.
Give me a lawn chair and a good book and I'll be good for a couple hours.
And you'd be out for a while. Looks like a good place to go skinny dipping. What do you think, dear?
Not. Oh, that's cold. That's cold.
It's cold. Yeah?
I want that nice heated swimming pool now.
Yeah, it's nice to come out in the middle of nowhere and find facilities. A luxury you don't usually get when you're hunting or fishing. Usually your facilities are gonna look something like this here. Pick a tree.
Or a bush.
Yeah, or a bush.
Here, take some leaves.
Apparently they do have boats back here, or landings and such. Excuse me, neither one of us can talk today. Okay, folks, here we are back up closer to the entrance of the McKay Creek Wildlife Refuge. As you can see, we mentioned earlier, this house is up on the hill, just overlooking the McKay Creek Reservoir. Get a better look here. Got kind of a viewpoint, looks out over the reservoir. I don't know about Montana, but I'd certainly call this big sky country, especially there in the background. You know those are big hills when you actually see shadows being created by the clouds. Beautiful country out here. I don't know if I'd want to live here though. It's a little bit too dry for me. But of course, what's dry after being wet 340 days of the year? Okay, we are in downtown Pendleton. Actually down the city center, right in front of the Umatilla County Museum. Always checking stuff out over there. There's a monument here, it says Wagons Ho. A lot of Oregon Trail references down here. It's right down by the Amtrak station. they call the Museum Park, which is also where the Chamber of Commerce is located for Pendleton. Went in there earlier, got quite a bit of information, actually. I'm finding as we've been going through town, this is an old town. Up there across the street, lots of old buildings. We're gonna see if we can get into the museum. This is like immigrants, Irish immigrant stuff. Photographs here.
And here is a list of some of the settlers.
Huh. Actual names of immigrants who settled this county. There's your typical Irish family of that time period. Oh.
Here is the Chinese settlers. There is a Chinese lock and key and chopsticks and case.
Huh.
Potpourri jar. Very artistic.
It's like a Ming vase or something. You like the colors.
Yes. Here's some of the English.
English tea. Time for tea. Tea. All right.
Of course it's hot.
Of course it's hot. What do you want in it? Nothing. Sorry. Like an old-fashioned mercantile or something.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Holly's drooling.
Look at these shoes. I can't believe people had that small feet.
Jeez.
And be able to walk in them.
Put your hand around us. Yeah, look at that. That's tiny. Real people don't have feet that small.
Here's another one.
Jeez.
New York. They don't have sizes in them.
Yeah.
J&T Cousins, New York.
Well, and this here too. I mean, no real people are that skinny.
Here is a 1920 flapper dress.
For sure, you're familiar with clothing of that era.
Here is an apple peeler.
An apple peel? Oh. Okay. Huh.
Put the apple there, and this would peel it.
Ooh. Wow. So what, you stick the apple on the on that deal there, and then
This would peel it.
a coffee grinder. Now that looks. I think I've seen one of those before. All sorts of
A wringer for clothes.
right.
Yeah.
Washboard. Your classic washboard.
And one of the first vacuum cleaners. Sweeper.
Whoa, it's a Bissell. Look at that.
Bissell's been around a long time.
Long time. Huh.
Everything came in tin cans, look.
Yeah.
Soap polish. Tobacco. Marshmallows. Cayenne.
Genuine Bull Durham. Isn't that a movie?
The tobacco.
Oh, it's tobacco?
It's tobacco.
Huh. Sodas? Is that like soda crackers?
Yeah. Here is post office boxes.
Those haven't changed all that much.
Except they had combinations back then.
Huh. Yeah, this is your, it's like your classic mercantile here.
Here's a cream separator. And this is what they wrapped their stuff in, was paper. They didn't have paper bags. They just wrapped their products in paper.
How you doing, kid?
Bolts of cloth, linen.
Right, stores sold just about a little bit of everything. Your candy. Just authentic candy?
Yes. Books. Epsom salts. Tin spoons. Oh.
Are you supposed to touch that stuff?
I don't know.
I saw a couple of things that said please do not touch. Whoa. Boy, I walked in, didn't even see that.
The days you got. Not too hot. I'm definitely not too cold. Pretty well, yes, this morning already.
Washing machine.
The washing machine?
Yeah, look at the note on the inside.
I like the one, when did my wild oats turn to fruit?
Huh.
The 30s to the 50s. Oh, there's a 1920s style.
Huh.
I started out with nothing, I still have.
1907. Oops.
That's cool. It works.
Oh.
Hello? Rainier. Thank you.
Oh.
That's cool.
Let's see, Oregon Trail.
Honey.
That's cute. Looks like a lot of the stuff it's okay to touch and, well, in this case, try on.
I wonder if he's in a relation to Dennis.
Yeah. Dennis is watching here. Monument dedicated to Oregon Trail pioneers and Ezra Meeker, Immigrant State Park, 1922. Huh. Is that the courthouse that has the clock?
Yes.
Yeah, it has to be, 'cause that clock was like, what, 1889?
There's the clock right there in the middle cemetery.
That should be the actual courthouse that the clock came from. Too bad they tore it down. Second courthouse. Materially statues are less cars than the bird school. Old schoolhouse. Let's see. Bird school. In 1879, Maria Bird, a widow, donated the land for Umatilla County School District number 21. The school is located 6.1 miles south of Pilot Rock, near the junction of West Birch Creek and the Yellow Jacket Road. Maria and her husband, Daniel Bird, immigrated by ox team to the Oregon country in 1852. You might be able to get a look inside there. Get here.
Welcome to the Umatilla County Historical Society's museum, located in the old Union Pacific Railroad Depot, and this, the Bird School. This is typical of the estimated 130 one-room schools that dotted the landscape around rural Umatilla County at one time. They were usually located within walking distance from the students' homes. This actual building was located 7 miles south of Pilot Rock on land owned by Maria and Daniel Bird, who donated the site for the school in 1877. In 1990, the building was given to the Historical Society by the owner at that time, Vern Nielsen, and moved to this spot. When the pioneers first settled in an area, the most important thing after building a home and getting settled was the education of their children. Someone who owned land in the area would donate an acre of land, usually with the provision that once it wasn't used further as a school, it would revert back to the original owner. A teacher might have just a high school education, but as long as she could pass the examination, she could teach. If she were a single girl, she would have to sign a contract that she would resign if she married. Men teachers were often desired because they could handle the big boys, some of them between 16 and 18 years of age. Some of the schools provided a teacherage, a home near the school for them to live in, or they would live with families in the area. One teacher would usually teach all 8 grades. School terms would be from 3 months to 9, depending on the time of year. This bird school is 20 by 30 feet in size, and the interior has been restored, complete with desk, blackboard, a stove, and other fixtures common in that day. Zena Price, who was 82 in 1991, tells of the walk to school.
Well, I just remember walking there. I don't remember the names of my teachers or many things like that, but I remember walking.
Okay, folks, that's going to about do it for this episode of Road Trips. We hope you enjoyed your tour of Pendleton. I do have some information, though. There's one exhibit, so to speak, that we didn't get to see, but for a different reason. It was the Pendleton Roundup Hall of Fame. As we found out, they don't allow video cameras of any kind. So, we weren't able to show it. So if you want to see it, you got to come down and see it, or I imagine you could probably have some information sent to you from maybe the Chamber of Commerce or somewhere like that.
If you're into horses and rodeos, it's a good place to see.
Definitely. We'll tell you this though, we did take a look at it anyway. They got a horse in there. They got a dead horse in there.
Actually, what they did was they took a cast of one of their most famous bronking horses, I guess. Bucking horses.
Yeah, bronking. I don't think bronking is a word.
Bronking.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, they took a cast of their most famous, what's the word again? Bucking horse.
I believe his name is War Paint, is what they called him.
Yes, War Paint. And when he died, they took his skin off and put it on this cast.
Very realistic. Right next to it, they show a picture of him, of this horse when he was alive, and it's very convincing. He was about They did that about 20 some years ago. I was reading in there. That's one thing. They have a video that they play, and it talks about the history of the roundup, which they've been doing since 1910.
Yes.
Was the first Pendleton roundup, and
Where they actually had to turn people away. Over 4,000 people showed up.
I think they said it was like 7,000 people showed up for this first roundup. Unbelievable. I mean, way over what they had ever imagined, and a lot more than what they had seating for.
Yes.
So, as I said, that's gonna do it. Hope you enjoyed your tour, and we're gonna call it a show. So, for Road Trips, I'm Todd Hilton.
And I'm Holly Hilton.
And we'll see you next time for the next episode of Road Trips!